Mr. Bader, you say that at least one offer of foreign help was rejected?
Yes. Voice of America News, which is an organ of the U.S. government, reported that in late April, a Dutch offer of assistance was rejected by the Obama administration based partly on the Jones Act.
One offer of help out of how many? 68, according to my count here.
Well, a single
Admiral
highly,
Allen,
excuse
me, let me just get the facts on the table, and then you can make up your own. But Admiral Allen said 68 foreign offers have been made so far, and you cite one.
Well, a single highly publicized rejection can discourage a great many offers from even being made.
Well,
and the Jones Act
67
doesn't even
others
apply.
did make an offer.
Well, some of these offers probably applied outside of U.S. waters. You know, the Jones Act doesn't cover the entire Gulf of Mexico, and it doesn't cover all kinds of foreign assistance, but it does cover certain important kinds of assistance, and there have been rejections under the Jones Act. Not only
how many rejections under the Jones Act?
I don't know the exact number.
Excuse me, Senator McCarthy. You can't tell us how many there are?
Easy,
well,
Mark,
I don't have the information because I'm not the government.
I do have facts. Give us hard facts. Give us evidence. Not innuendo, not baseless accusations.
If there was a sign that said no Irish need apply, if there was a sign that said no Irish need apply, it wouldn't be a defense that not many Irish people actually applied and got rejected.
The fact is, sir, you have told us there have been examples of rejections, and yet you cannot name a single one.
I just did. I named the one that Voice of America reported as occurring in late April. And there's also a foreign deck barge. There's also a foreign deck barge that was rejected more recently, and that was chronicled in Human Events.
I repeat. According to Admiral Allen, 68 offers of foreign help have come in. All right, yesterday around this time, we had a discussion on the Jones Act and whether this 1920 law is relevant any longer, whether it was impacting the cleanup in the Gulf. The Jones Act, for those who don't know, was passed in 1920, and it was primarily to protect American shipping and American sailors. It gave sailors the right to recover for injuries, much as railroad workers had already earned, so it kind of expanded that. And it required that any goods moved between American ports, that is from New York to Baltimore, from New Orleans to Tampa, had to be done on American ships, as opposed to, say, London to New York. Anyone can do that. But New York to Baltimore, you got to have an American ship. Anyway, critics of the Obama administration are saying that that is getting in the way of the oil cleanup, it is preventing foreign participation in the cleanup, and therefore the president, by refusing to waive the Jones Act, was favoring the unions over the environment. We had on a guest, Mr. Hans Bader, who said that there were several examples of that happening, and when I challenged him and said, well, tell us which examples they are, he could only come up with one. Memo to anyone who's going to come on this program. If you're going to say there are several examples, you better have several examples. Because if you say several examples and then you can only come up with one, a very loud bell goes off in my head that says, this guy's BSing us. So, Mr. Bader could only come up with one example. A Dutch offer, which he said was refused because of the Jones Act. And after the program, I thought, you know, I want to look into this because even if there is only one example, it's one too many. In fact, there was a Dutch offer, and it was politely declined, but it was because of the EPA. The Jones Act, Mr. Bader, had nothing to do with it. Put the timeline back up so everyone understands how this happened. Deepwater Horizon caught fire on April 20th. It sank 2 days later. The next day, the Dutch put an offer to help on the table, but we did not know at that time that we had a leak on our hands. The leak was not discovered until the following day when underwater cameras found the leak, okay? So the Dutch offer was kind of, you know, you guys are probably going to find a leak, and if you do, we're here to help. And the U.S. said, thanks, but we think we've got this under control. Now, remember, too, you can't judge people in hindsight. You've got to deal with what they knew at the time. In the first couple of weeks, we didn't know how big this spill was. Now, you can honestly debate whether that was because the government was incompetent or BP was lying to us or some combination of both. We don't know. But at the time, we didn't realize the size and scope of this disaster. Finally, after a couple of weeks, when the size and scope became apparent, the U.S. went back to the Dutch and said, we now want that equipment. It turns out we're going to need that equipment. Now, but it was about the EPA. Now you can start saying, what a bunch of boneheaded bureaucrats, and I wouldn't argue with you. But it was not because of the Jones Act. It was not a conspiracy to protect the unions and sacrifice the environment.